Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we basically take sources and try to pull out the key insights for you.
Yeah, we sort of act as your guides through the material you give us, highlighting what really jumps out.
Okay, so today we're doing a deep dive into something pretty heavy, a really significant event from 1991. Our source is a chunk of the Wikipedia article on the Luby's Cafeteria Massacre.
And it's quite detailed, this piece. It really covers the incident, the deaths, the perpetrator, what the source says about him, anyway, possible motives mentioned, the aftermath, and even what's at the site now.
Right, so our mission here is to unpack just what's in this article excerpt. We'll look
Mhm.
at, how the perpetrators describe, the consequences the source mentions, and the impacts it details.
It's definitely a difficult topic, no question, but the source gives us a specific factual way to look at this moment in history and, well, what followed,
Yeah.
according to this particular account.
Okay, let's get into it then. So, the source, it sets the scene pretty clearly. October 16th, 1991.
Yep. Pinpoints the time, 12:39 p.m., Killeen, Texas. And it makes a point of saying it was Boss's Day.
Oh, right. So the Luby's was busier than usual.
Yeah, unusually crowded is how the source puts it. Around 150 people inside, just, lunchtime rush, but bigger.
And the source introduces the perpetrators straight away. George Pierre Henard, 35. Described as unemployed, former merchant marine.
And the attack itself, the way the source describes the beginning, it's incredibly sudden. He drove his pickup truck, a blue '87 Ford Ranger,
He drove it where?
right through the front window, the plate glass window of the cafeteria.
Wow. Just drove into the building. That's how it started.
That's what the source says. An immediate, violent start. And then, still inside the truck, he starts firing. 2 pistols, a Glock 17 and a Ruger P89.
And the first victim mentioned is?
A veterinarian named Michael Griffith, according to the article.
Then the source says he gets out of the truck.
Yes, exits the truck. And the source quotes him directly here, saying these, well, chilling things. All women of Killeen and Belton are vipers. This is what you've done to me and my family. This is what Bell County did to me. This is payback day.
Payback day. Wow. The source really flags those specific words.
It does. Then it says he started shooting patrons and staff with both guns, moving through the cafeteria, and the article uses the phrase selectively picking his victims.
Collectively. And it gives examples, like
Mhm.
really disturbing ones, like saying, you bitch, before shooting a woman.
Exactly. That's mentioned. And also spotting a woman hiding under a bench.
Oh, yeah, near the serving line.
Uh-huh. And saying, hiding from me, bitch. Then killing her.
The source also mentions him shooting a man, Steve Ernst, under a table.
Right. And then there's that really bizarre, awful moment the source details. Approaching a woman who had a crying baby.
And he let her go.
Told her, you with the baby, get out before I change my mind. And she escaped. But then
Then he shot Steve Ernst's wife.
shot her in the arm, yeah. And the source says that same bullet went through her and killed her mother, Venice Ellen Hennihan, who was behind her. It's a really, really grim picture painted by the source.
But amidst all that horror, the source mentions someone fighting back or creating a way out.
Well, creating an escape route. Tommy Vaughn. He was at a table near the back. The source says he threw himself through a rear window.
Creating an opening.
Exactly. And dozens of people apparently used it to get out. The source notes that by the time police showed up, maybe a third of the people inside had managed to flee through that window.
So that one action made a huge difference.
It seems so, based on the account. The source also notes Hennard reloaded at least 3 times before the police got there.
And when the police arrived, a shootout.
A brief one, yeah. The source says Hennard got wounded but wouldn't surrender. He yelled, no, I'm going to kill more people.
Good grief.
Then police shot him twice more in the abdomen. After that, the article says he retreated and killed himself with a final shot to the head.
Okay, so the final tally, according to the source, what does it say?
It's specific. 23 people killed by him and another 27 wounded.
So 23 murder victims, plus him making 24 deaths total at the scene.
Right. 23 murdered, 27 wounded, plus his suicide. And the source points out this was the deadliest mass shooting in modern U.S. history at that point. It wasn't surpassed until 2007.
That really puts the scale of it.
Yeah.
Wow, okay, so that's the event itself. Let's shift to what the source tells us about George Hennard, the person responsible, according to this article.
Okay, the source gives some background. Born in Pennsylvania in 1956, came from a wealthy family, apparently. Swiss surgeon, father, homemaker, mother.
And they moved around a lot.
Yeah, father's work. He graduated high school in New Mexico in 74, then joined the Navy for 3 years, got an honorable discharge.
Then Merchant Marine.
Right. But the source says he was dismissed from that for drug use. And later his papers got suspended after some kind of racial argument.
Yeah.
Also mentions him going into drug treatment in Houston.
And the guns, the Glock and the Ruger.
The source says he bought those in Henderson, Nevada, February 1991.
So quite a few months before the shooting in October. Where was he living?
Kind of split, it seems. Part-time with his mom in Nevada and also in a family home in Belton, Texas, which is right near Killeen.
And his personality, his behavior, what does the source describe?
It uses words like reclusive, belligerent, said he had an explosive temper.
And this is where the source really starts bringing in examples that seem to point to a real issue with women, right?
Yeah, quite a few. The police chief is quoted saying Hennard had an evident problem with women for some reason.
And an ex-roommate.
Quoted in the article saying he hated blacks and Hispanics, he said women were snakes, and made derogatory remarks, especially after fights with his mother.
And didn't survivors notice something during the attack itself?
Yes, the source mentions survivors observed him passing over men sometimes to shoot women. And it states 15 of the 23 people he murdered were women, plus those awful comments like, "You bitch," during the shooting.
The source also talks about him stalking two sisters, Jill Fritz and Gina Jemigan.
Uh-huh. They lived near him. Apparently, he sent them this long letter, like 5 pages, in June 91.
Just a few months before. And the quotes from it, they're intense.
Very. The source includes lines about wanting the satisfaction of someday laughing in the face of all those mostly white, treacherous female vipers from those 2 towns, referring to Killeen and Belton.
Well, Vipers again. And didn't he also call them groupie fans or something strange like that?
Yeah, asked if they could get together someday.
Yeah.
It's presented in the source as more evidence of this fixation.
Then there was that incident at the convenience store right before the massacre with Mary Mead.
Yes, the source mentions that, days before. He supposedly told her, "I want you to tell everybody, if they don't quit messing around my house, something awful is going to happen."
A direct warning almost.
Seems like it, reading the source. It also mentions him quitting a job around then at a concrete company. Told a coworker about problems with people in Belton, certain women, and said, "Watch and see, watch and see."
And the timing. His birthday was the day before.
Right, his 35th birthday. And the source connects it to him watching TV coverage of the Clarence Thomas hearings, specifically Anita Hill's testimony.
And he reacted badly.
Reportedly went off screaming, "You bitch! You bastards open the door for all the women," according to the source.
Wow. Okay, and there was another timing thing the source mentioned about the Merchant Marine.
Yeah, back in mid-February 91, he found out his attempt to get reinstated had been denied. So the source lays out this picture of like professional setbacks combined with this documented hostility towards women.
Okay, so pulling all that together, the incident, the details about Hennard, what does the source actually say about the motive? Why did this happen, according to this article? It seems complicated.
It is, and the source is clear on one thing. The official motive is unknown. Flat out states that.
Yeah. It does offer what's believed to be the motive.
Yeah.
Right? Based on everything it presented.
Exactly. It heavily points towards misogyny as the widely believed motive, according to the source.
And it backs that up with all the evidence we just discussed.
Pretty much, yeah. His own words during the attack, "Vipers, bitch." The fact that most victims were women, survivors saying he targeted them, and then his past behavior, like that letter, the comments, the Anita Hill outburst, the source really emphasizes these details, pointing towards hatred of women.
Does the source mention any other possibilities at all, even if it focuses on misogyny?
It does, briefly. It says other motives have been claimed by others. It lists misanthropy, just hating people in general, isolation, and rejection. So it acknowledges those ideas exist, even if the bulk of the details in this excerpt lean towards misogyny explanation.
Okay. Let's turn to the aftermath. What happened right after, according to the source?
Well, the immediate response involved counseling for grief, shock, stress, for the families, survivors, police, the basics you'd expect.
And politically. The source mentioned something happening almost immediately.
Yeah, an anti-crime bill was up for a vote in the U.S. House the very next day. And the local representative, Chet Edwards, his constituents were victims. He actually dropped his opposition to a specific gun control part of that bill because of the shooting.
Did that part of the bill pass?
No, the source notes it didn't pass in the end, but it would have banned weapons and magazines similar to what Hennard used. The source just presents it as a direct political reaction tied to the event.
Interesting. The source also makes a connection to concealed carry laws in Texas, doesn't it?
It does. It mentions the Texas State Rifle Association pushing for those laws, and that the governor at the time, Ann Richards, a Democrat, had vetoed them.
But then,
Her successor, George W. Bush, a Republican, signed a concealed carry law in 1995. And the source ties this directly to advocacy work by someone who was at Luby's, Susanna Hupp.
right, her story is pretty prominent in the source of account of the aftermath. She was there, her parents were killed.
Tragically, yes. And the source details her testimony about wishing she'd had her own gun, a .38 revolver, but she'd left it in her car because she was afraid of losing her chiropractor's license if she got caught carrying it, which was illegal then.
So, the source says she became a major advocate because of that experience.
Exactly. Testified all over the country for concealed carry laws. And then, as the source notes, she was elected to the Texas House of Representatives in 1996. The source really presents her story as a key driver of that specific policy change in Texas.
Is there a memorial mentioned?
Yes, a pink granite one. It's behind the Killeen Community Center and lists the names of everyone killed.
And the building itself, the Luby's building.
The source says the restaurant did reopen for a while, but it closed for good in 2000. And as of April 2025, the article states, the site's now occupied by a different restaurant, a buffet called Yanksing.
So, the physical place changed, moved on.
Seems so, yeah. But the impact clearly was long-lasting.
Okay, so let's try and connect these dots for you, the listener, sticking only to what this Wikipedia excerpt told us.
Right. We've gone through the terrible events of that day. We looked at the details the source provides about George Hennard, his background, his behavior, those specific statements and actions it highlights. And we saw how the source tackles motive, saying it's officially unknown, but presenting a lot of evidence that points towards misogyny as the widely believed reason, while also mentioning other possibilities.
And we track the consequences the source describes. Things like the immediate impact on a congressional vote, even if it didn't change the outcome there. And then the very direct link the source draws between the tragedy, Susanna Hupp's experience and advocacy, and the eventual passing of Texas's concealed carry law.
It's definitely a lot to take in. You go from these really specific, awful details, individual moments of violence, quotes, to these larger ripples, like state laws changing. The source really pushes you to consider all those layers together. The personal loss, the hints about the why from the perpetrator's profile in the source, and then these documented societal and political effects that followed.
So wrapping up this deep dive, we've really just explored the Luby's massacre through the specific information given in this source material.
Yeah, and it's clear from the source itself that even with all these details, some big questions, especially around the definitive why, they remain complex. The source presents the most believed explanation, but frames it as just that widely believed, not officially proven fact.
So maybe here's a final thought for you, building on what we've unpacked from the source. Think about how one single horrific event described in an account like this can cast such a long shadow, affecting individuals, families, communities, but also, according to this source, directly shaping state policy years later. It leaves you grappling with the why behind it and the what happened next, all based on the historical record laid out here.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.